everyone, welcome to my YouTube channel. Di video kali ini, saya akan mempraktekkan cara membaca cerita dongeng Snow White. Teman-teman juga bisa praktis bersama saya ya. Before that, don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe ya, agar kalian tidak ketinggalan video lainnya. And now, let's practice! Once upon a time, in a very large place, there lived a beautiful princess. She was very beautiful, with blue eyes and long black hair. Her skin was smooth and white, so she was called Snow White. Snow White has a stepmother who is always jealous of Snow White's beauty. Her stepmother was also very beautiful, and the magic mirror told her this every day, every time she asked her. One day, her stepmother asked the magic mirror which woman was the most beautiful in the land, and the magic mirror answered the Snow White was the most beautiful in the land. Her stepmother was very angry. Then he asked his trusted servant to take Snow White to the forest, far from the place, and kill her. But the maid didn't kill Snow White. She let the innocent little girl go. In the forest, Snow White is alone and afraid. He didn't know where he should go, but suddenly he saw a strange little hut. He wondered who lived there, so he decided to enter the hut. In the cottage, there are 7 beds and a kitchen. Snow White was too tired to look around the cottage and suddenly fell asleep. In the evening, the 7 dwarfs who live in the hut went home. They are surprised to see a young woman there. One of the dwarfs woke her up and asked who she was. Snow White told them her sad story. The 7 dwarfs understood Snow White's feelings and asked her to stay with them in the cottage. Meanwhile at the place, the maid returns and tells Snow White's stepmother that Snow White has been murdered. Then the stepmother asks the magic mirror once again, who was the most beautiful in the land, and still the magic mirror answered that Snow White, who lived in the small cottage with the 7 dwarfs, was the most beautiful. So her stepmother got angry and she planned something bad for Snow White. Then the stepmother disguised herself as an old woman selling basket of poisoned apples and went to the cottage. At the cottage, 7 pictures warned Snow White not to open the door to strangers. The stepmother finally arrived to the cottage and began to offer Snow White's apple. Snow White refused to open the door, but the stepmother kept persuading, and finally Snow White opened the door and bought an apple, and then she ate it. So Snow White fell with the poisoned apple beside her. One day, when the 7 dwarfs came home, they were surprised to find Snow White laying on the floor with a pale face and poisoned apples around her. The 7 dwarfs were sad to see the Snow White was breathing but not dead. Then the 7 dwarfs decided to make a beautiful bed made of crystals to keep Snow White alive. The 7 dwarfs wait for a miracle. Then one day, a prince who was actually from a distant kingdom saw a beautiful woman lying on a crystal bed. The prince asked the dwarf what happened, and the dwarf told the story. Hearing Snow White's story, the prince decided to kiss her to show his intentions, but suddenly Snow White came back to life. The fact is that the prince's kiss destroyed the evil spell. Then the prince asked Snow White to marry him. From that day on, Snow White lived happily in a big place, but from time to time he often returns to visit the small cabin in the forest belonging to the 7 dwarfs he loves. Alright everyone, sampai di sini saja mengenai praktis kita pada hari ini. Semoga membantu and thank you for watching.